What's going on, Grizz Nation? Welcome into another Grizz Game Day update. I'm Kelcey. I'm joined by Amin in Chicago. The Grizzlies will take on the Chicago Bulls for the second time this season at 7 o'clock tonight in Chicago. I'm going to set the scene really quickly. The last time the Grizzlies played Chicago, it was MLK Day here in Memphis. The Grizzlies won by 13, but Chicago was without Zach LaVine, Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso, a bunch of guys. Zach LaVine back in the lineup today. DeMar DeRozan on an absolute tear. I think it's like eight straight games now?
Yep.
35 points, 50% or better shooting. Like, how do you can't stop that. No one else has been able to stop that.
Not yet, and it's tough, Kay, because you can't assume that he's going to produce at this level, at this proficiency, with this level of efficiency every night. But I don't know when streak is going to stop. It's every night you go in assuming he can't do it again, and yet he does it again. And I think a lot of it is just a perfect storm of a couple of things. He's always been this player, and I think Grizzlies fans have probably run into him a lot. In fact, Memphis has defended DeMar really well. His lowest career point total per game over his career has been against Memphis, inside of 17 points per game. So maybe they have something to be able to mitigate what he's been able to do, but it's been a perfect storm of personnel around him. The work ethic that he has and the skill set that he's cultivated over a long period of time and has fine-tuned. He's got some of the best footwork of any player in the league right now. I think Joel Embiid and DeMar have some of the best footwork of guys I've seen as of late. And, it's in Chicago. It's still the third biggest market in the NBA. It's still a big deal when you can perform on this stage and perform in this city. Fans obviously have a lot of respect for that. And to do it at this level of efficiency, with this productivity, it just hasn't been done in a long time in the NBA. You mentioned the stats have been kind of mind-blowing. So he's always been this guy, but a perfect storm of things, the personnel, his work ethic, and I think how defenses have approached mid-range players over the last few years, and now they're having to adjust a little bit. I think all of those things have contributed to him having a ridiculously efficient season.
Yeah, the Bulls are number one in the league in field goal percentage. It obviously has a lot to do with DeMar. You saw that video from All-Star where I forget who it was now. It was like, do you ever miss was it Luka?
Luka and Jokic, yeah.
Yeah, they're like, do you ever miss a mid-range shot? He's like, no.
Sometimes when he's like, yeah, but like 19 out of 20, you're good on. So it's incredible. And again, we saw it in the finals last year with Chris Paul and how he changed the dynamic of Phoenix's offense, not only as a creator and distributor and ball handler, which obviously he's exceptional at, and Phoenix is going to be a lot different without him in this next run. You saw the impact he made with his mid-range ability and how players like Kawhi Leonard have been able to take advantage of what defenses have given them. Kevin Durant continues, when he's healthy, to be one of the top mid-range guys in the league. And you have to be able to score at that level to be at this level of efficiency, obviously. But to do it with double teams, triple teams coming. And the other thing that I think is key to note, he's been an excellent passer. He had a career high in assists per game last year when he was playing a different position, kind of more of a power forward position, and getting those young guys in San Antonio involved. He's averaging 5 assists a game this year and continues to make the right offensive play even when he gets covered up. So you have to make teams pay if you're going to send 2 or 3 defenders at DeMar DeRozan so far. And especially in this stretch, he's been able to do that alongside doing the things he's doing as a shooter.
Okay, now obviously DeMar gets a lot of the love, and we're going to spend a lot of time talking about DeMar right now in the broadcast throughout the day, throughout the week probably. But Chicago is not a one-man team. So if you take DeMar DeRozan off the table and you're the Grizzlies coming in, who else do you have to put? I know you focus on everyone. They do a crap load of video, but who do you put focus on other than DeMar?
Yeah, I think line item number 2 is LaVine. Line item number 3 is Vucevic. And that's one thing that Memphis has had an advantage in terms of running guys at Zach LaVine and being able to deny Vucevic, some decent work in the paint. He had a really rough game against Memphis on MLK Day, as a lot of guys did in terms of shooting. Vucevic did. He's been in a great stretch really since around that time, around that Memphis game. He had a couple of rough games in that stretch. And then since then, I think it's 15 double-doubles in the last 18 games. But whether it's been Jonas Valanciunas or now Steven Adams, it's a really tough matchup, obviously. That's one thing that the Bulls have struggled with is teams with major size across the front line. They acquired Tristan Thompson recently after a buyout from Indiana.
About that.
and that's helped. He had his debut the other night against Atlanta, and man, he gave some good punch off the bench from that position. That's something that the Bulls have desperately missed this year, some consistency there. And it's only been one game, but we'll see how Thompson goes going forward. But, Vucevic is a key piece because of what he can do in the front court. And then obviously LaVine, can you contain him? I don't know if he's 100%, to be honest with you. He looked good in the All-Star game. He says he's going to manage this left knee issue that he's had, but he's also been dealing with a back issue this year. It's been a kind of an injury-plagued run, whether it's been a thumb injury early in the year, the left knee, the back issues. So LaVine is still trying to find his flow. And if you can kind of eliminate him from a defensive standpoint, if you're Memphis, which they've been really good at taking away number 2 options, I feel like that's going to be a key for Memphis tonight.
Yeah. And before I move on to the Grizzlies, I am going to say this is a game where you really miss the defense of Dylan Brooks. Like you really miss that big guard who probably would take DeMar DeRozan and then leave a secondary Zach LaVine, but he's not in yet. There is an update. I guess he is in the coming week going to be in more physical practice. So if you're a Grizzlies fan, that's a good sign for you. But look, you brought up Tristan Thompson. He is known for being a rebounder, an offensive rebounder. The Grizzlies lead the league in rebounds right now. The Bulls at 27. And then I also look at second chance points, which the Grizzlies have been dominating, leading the league as well. The Bulls 28th. And that keep that like with a grain of salt because they're shooting the highest field goal percentage. So like if you don't miss, you don't get second chance points. But when the Bulls come in looking to defend the Grizzlies, who are leading in a whole bunch of things on the offensive end, including points in the paint, second chance points, not even talking about like the blocks and the deflections and all that, just the offensive stuff. How do you go in when it's so easy to pinpoint for the Bulls, like DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, so on and so on. Anyone can step up for the Grizzlies. If Ja is obviously number 1, if he has a bad night, someone else comes in and scores 30 points.
The hustle of Memphis has been most impressive. The namesake of the G League team kind of fits right now. It's, they're in all these categories, and that's been a major problem for the Bulls. We talked about the front line depth or the lack thereof at times. Obviously, the Thompson signing is huge because the other night against Atlanta, they stayed in the game. Atlanta had one of their worst shooting nights of the year. They're one of the better jump shooting teams in the league, and Trae Young was just, had an off night because of Ayo Dosunmu. Right around the time that the Bulls played the Grizzlies the first time, that's when Dosunmu entered the starting lineup, and he's been huge, kind of handling the point guard duties without Lonzo Ball, and he played great defense on Trae Young the other night. Trae Young had an atypical night, and yet Atlanta was right in that game because of Clint Capella. And we talk about Steven Adams and Clint Capella probably being the 2 best offensive rebounders in the game in terms of rate. I know Steven leads the league right now in terms of rebounds. That's been a major problem. And not only is Vucevic going to have his hands full, but I think now what we saw on Thursday with Tristan Thompson, he may end up playing some key minutes against a player like Steven Adams, just to put another body on Adams, just to try to work him and get him out of that painted area and prevent him from getting these deep catches and easy putbacks, because that's been a problem all season long. Second chance points have hampered the Bulls on the defensive glass. And last year, they're one of the better defensive rebounding teams in the league. And they're not bad this year. I think they were 3rd at the All-Star break in defensive rebounding rate, but you're still giving up a lot of opportunities, and teams are very efficient. Even if they don't get a ton of chances, let's say they only get 5 offensive rebounds a game, it feels like they're getting 10, 12, 14 second chance points off of them. They're getting 3-point looks, or they're getting to the foul line. So that's going to be something that is a huge key for the Bulls tonight.
So the importance of just like closing out defensive possessions. If you had to pick one, we're going to end this with one quick key for the Bulls to pull out the W. The one stat that they need to dominate tonight to get the win would be?
I think it is transition. You mentioned it, KJ. I think there's so many good things about what Memphis does in transition. And frankly, you could use the eye test and just look at all the highlight reel dunks that John and Dylan and Bane and all these guys have had this year, and kind of just assume that they're the best transition team in the league. And the numbers kind of back it up. All the deflections, all the blocks, everything they do on the glass at both ends of the floor, and how much they push the pace. The Bulls wanted to be a high-paced team earlier this year, and when they had the personnel to do it, Lonzo, Caruso, etc., it felt like they could play a little bit more athletically. And I'm not saying that they can't, but you don't want to get into a slugfest, a shootout back up and down the floor with a Memphis team. They've won the last 3 games all by double-digit points for a reason. A lot of that has been won in the transition game, and the energy plays that Memphis is able to produce is a big reason why I think they've had success against the Bulls these last seasons.